It's been 25 years in the making, but finally, Eurovision is coming back to the UK. Although, admittedly, we are hosting on behalf of Ukraine, it's still back in the UK. And Emily and I, are you looking forward to it, Emily?
I have never been so excited for anything in my life. Essentially, like,
Yeah.
Eurovision hasn't been hosted in the UK in my lifetime.
Is it not? I was
So
three months old the last time it was
this
here.
is a
3 months
first.
old.
I cannot contain my excitement for
He's
Liverpool.
excited. I'm excited. Let's preview this year's Eurovision Song Contest in Liverpool. Let's review Eurovision. Well, we can barely contain our excitement again that this is finally happening. I mean, you said it's never been here in your lifetime. I was 3 months old the last time it was here. I mean, it's history, Emily.
It is, and I think last year when Ukraine won and obviously we came second, there was definitely a kind of question mark over, oh well, essentially it's probably not kind of hostable in Ukraine. Dare we dare to dream that it could be kind of hosted here? And yeah, I think this time last year we didn't want to. Well, song contest last year we didn't want to get too excited about the prospect of it being here. I think now that it's been confirmed and the fact that it's going to Liverpool as well is really exciting. It's kind of a city that we didn't think it was going to get it. We all the bookies kind of said it was going to go to Glasgow, and I was kind of rooting for it to be kind of a city relatively near where I'm from. So I'm really happy that it's in Liverpool, especially with it, where it's a city with so much kind of rich musical history as well. So yeah, I'm super pumped for it.
Yeah, again, it was a bit of a surprise that it was picked for Liverpool. It's not the city that I had well, I didn't expect it would go there at all. I did think it was going to be Glasgow. I was semi-rooting for Newcastle. That's near where I'm from. Admittedly, they were never really a contender, but I think it's good that it's not in London because obviously we both live in London. I think it's quite good that it's not here. It's about sharing the fun, sharing things. So it's Liverpool so far has welcomed it massively. And I'm actually thrilled to say, through the ticket fiasco, that I have actually got tickets this year, and I will be going. I'll be going to the live semi-final one on the Tuesday. So I'm honestly, this has been a lifetime in the making, and I can't wait to be going.
I sadly was not successful in the ticket ballot, but I'm sure I'll be celebrating in my own way.
You'll be having your own party, a la Malta. Malta's
Yeah, having my having my own Malta themed Eurovision party.
Someone's got to have one, to be fair.
Indeed.
So it's super, super exciting that it's here. 37 songs are competing. They've all now, at the time that we're recording this, they've all now been picked. We're still waiting for the running orders to come out, but we do know that in the grand final, because that is drawn randomly with the producers, the UK will be performing 26th out of 26, and Ukraine will be performing 19th. What do you think? Do you think that how does that affect their chances, do you think? Do you think Ukraine can do the double with a running order like that and with a song like that? And do you think actually going last is a good thing for the UK?
I think I don't think Ukraine will kind of do a double. I mean, if you look at the bookies now, it's not kind of one of the favorites, and obviously last year it was and it won. So I think definitely going 19th. I mean, I think Ukraine will do well this year regardless. I think there's still kind of so much momentum there. I think the UK performing 26th is also a very good thing for us. Again, we've not picked a winning song this year, probably because we don't want the financial burden of hosting it again next year. But it's a solid entry, I think. So I think where it's placed, going last, that's the thing that sticks in people's minds. So I think it's absolutely no bad thing that we're in last. What do you make of the positioning so far?
I think, yeah, Ukraine, I wouldn't count Ukraine out this year. You don't quite know how strong the feeling is. I mean, because let's face it, Ukraine won last year because of the war. Stephanie is not. I'm still annoyed that it won, frankly, because it was not a Eurovision winning song.
It was a banger. Don't fight me.
No, it wasn't a banger. It was bad. I was polite at the time, but it's one like there's no point in being polite about it anymore. Slow Mo was robbed. Hold Me Closer was robbed. Spaceman was robbed. There were a few songs that should have won in place of that, and it won because of the war. Frankly, it was not. It's not a Eurovision winning song for me. It didn't win, but anyway. So I think it's hard to tell exactly how much, as you say, momentum there still is for Ukraine. I think I can see it coming top five no matter what. And actually, I prefer their song this year to Stefania. I think it's a more interesting lyrically and
See, I prefer last
musically.
year's.
Do you?
Yeah, I don't know if it because last year felt more of kind of like a national identity statement than this year. It
Possibly.
felt very kind of like culturally Ukrainian, whereas this year I'm not sure it does as much. But yeah,
Yeah, I think certainly the running order of going 19th is not going to hurt it. It's quite a plum position anyway. I was initially quite happy that the UK was going 26th, and the more I think about it, the more actually songs that perform last, with a few exceptions, don't normally do brilliantly. And I think it really is going to depend. We'll address the elephant in the room properly in a minute. I think Loreen and Sweden is the song of the year. So if that goes, obviously it's going to do very well in its semi-final. And producers, if it draws the second half, or in no matter what half they're drawn into, producers will put it as late as possible. So I think if it draws second half, they'll put it 23, 24. And then anything after it will be blown out the water. And I think people will be like, well, it's not that, is it? So I think by knowing that we're going last, we're either going immediately, well, nearly immediately after Loreen, and are not going to compare. I think maybe the best thing for it is that Loreen and Sweden draw first half.
yeah,
Then they
and
go
there's
11th,
plenty of
12th,
time for
13th.
there's plenty of
Exactly.
time for people to be like, okay,
You can
we've had
reset.
a good female act. Oh, here's another good female commercial pop
Exactly.
song.
So I think going last is, in theory, a good thing, but I think it really depends what songs draw into which half. Because it's one of my favorite UK entries ever, but it just depends. The context in which it is performed, I think, will affect massively how well it does. While we're on Sweden, it's so far the runaway favourite to win. There's huge questions about whether she'll actually get to do that iconic staging in Liverpool because of the weight of the roof and everything. It is. I really hope to, because she's in the semi-final that I'm watching. I really hope I see that performance. Either way, I'm looking forward to seeing it. But do you think, considering Finland and Norway and Ukraine are also up there among the favourites, do you think Sweden deserves to be the runaway favourite?
I mean, for me, I completely see why it is, and it is a really enjoyable song. But I think the and this probably doesn't play in most people's minds, but for me, I compare it to Euphoria, and it for me, I'm like that was clearly a runaway winner. This for me less so, just because I think Euphoria is a better song, and I know nothing is going to kind of compare to that, but yeah, I mean, I really enjoy Tattoo, but I'm relieved that Finland is up there as well because that's probably one of my personal favorites. I mean, clearly by the sounds of it, you are a big fan of Loreen.
Yeah, I'm going to hold off on all of my comments for our review video, which will come later on in the series. But I mean, in a nutshell, I think it's certainly on par, if not better than Euphoria. Genuinely, the whole package of song plus staging is. I've at various times in the past couple of weeks, I've thought it's better than Euphoria. So I think it's absolutely this. It's the clearest winner of Eurovision since Emily de Forest, probably. So I think she is deservedly the favourite. That said, she's not the only brilliant song this year. Finland, again, deservedly up there. Norway, less so. We'll get to that in the reviews later on as well. But there are some really strong entries this year. I think it's not the best year ever. 2021 probably is for me, but it's certainly not the worst. And I think there are some really competitive entries this year.
Yeah, and I feel like there's a real diversity of entries as well. You've got kind of a lot of typically kind of Euro pop stuff in there as well, which always kind of entertains the fan base and irritates plenty of other people. But I do think you're getting a real kind of diversity of stuff. There's interestingly quite a few boy bands going this year.
There is. It's a bit of a sausage fest.
I mean, I wonder if that must be a kind of a Liverpool home of the Beatles, let's send a boy band type thing.
Possibly.
And I mean, it's nice because I don't feel like you get many bands at Eurovision as well. So it is quite refreshing to see that. And I think there is kind of so much kind of diversity of genre this year, which I'm really excited to kind of see.
Yeah, it's a very diverse year. I think there really is something for everybody. I don't think there's quite a lot of rock this year, which isn't my genre massively. As we all know, avid viewers of the channel will know it's not really my thing. I respect the songs that are here though. I think there's some really, really strong ones. There's a few absolute duds. Um, Ireland. There's a few, yeah, just absolute non-starters, but there are some really, really strong ones, and I think it's going to be a strong show no matter what. The semi-finals aren't the strongest in the world, if I'm honest, because the automatic qualifiers, all six of them have brought it this year. Like they are, as a batch of automatic qualifiers, probably among the best. So I think the final, if the right songs go through, it's going to be among the best finals. Semi-finals less so. What do we think, though? Quickly, we'll come later on to sort of predictions and what our initial thoughts are of what might go through, what might win. What do you think of the staging, the hosts that have been announced? Actually, Liverpool as a BBC production, what do you think of those decisions so far?
I think this is a real kind of opportunity for the BBC to make its mark on Eurovision kind of once again. I think it's a real. I think it's weird when I heard. Well, I'll start with the staging. I think the staging looks good from what we've seen so far. I think it is quite difficult to go kind of like hugely wrong, essentially, with the staging at Eurovision. I think it's
Except when
good
you
that
have
they
a
probably.
water feature and a sun and nothing works.
Yeah, but I think essentially that as long as you don't do that, you're kind of in the clear. As long as you don't have something good hugely distracting from the performance, and something that you then have to awkwardly include in the performance in some way, like the kind of the water feature. So I think staging simple is probably the best way that they could have gone with that. In terms of the hosts, I was quite interested to see the hosts. I thought there was some interesting choices. I thought it's weird when I heard Alicia Dixon. I think because she was kind of tipped before it got officially announced, and I thought that was I thought that was an odd kind of choice. The more I think about it, the more I'm kind of, oh, it'll be fine. I don't have a huge issue with it. I'm just intrigued to see as to how kind of, because obviously Eurovision, when it's hosted in other countries where English isn't the first language of the host, there are kind of so many kind of awkward and fun moments. I suppose my worry is that when you have hosts who, apart from Yulia, whose first language is English, I'm intrigued as to whether you'll kind of get the cringe awkwardness that you often get in the hosting with other
Yeah,
countries.
I hope not. I mean, there's not. I was quite surprised. I didn't see any of them other than Graham. I didn't really see any of the hosts coming. They were all quite free rogue choices. Because I've never seen them together. They feel like quite. It hopefully will work, the chemistry. I really, really hope it does. What I'm very excited about though is, and I didn't see her coming by a long shot. Hannah Waddingham. When she's done interviews,
That was extremely left field.
it's
And
very
at first,
random.
it's weird because I heard her name before I saw who she was, and I didn't recognize the name. Obviously, when I saw the face, I was like, "Oh, yeah, have seen her in stuff."
Yeah.
I haven't seen Ted Lasso, which I think is the main thing. But yeah, I thought that was extremely rogue, and I'm intrigued to know what the kind of thought process was there. But yeah, I mean, the hosts otherwise, those were the kind of main surprises. The ones who are the kind of semi-final hosts and commentators and things like that, there weren't any huge surprises there, I don't think.
Yeah, not a massive shock. But I think what is quite interesting is other than Graham, who will obviously be half doing his commentating thing, the three other hosts are all singers. They can all sing. So there's going to be, I think, some really good host comedy, actually, what I mean, interval act type thing. We think there's some really, really good potential there for it. So I'm looking forward to it. And we do also now know that the people who will be doing the voting are Graham and Hannah, which I think they're both naturally very funny.
I think that's
I
a
think it's
great
going to be
shout.
really engaging. It's a good shout. They're I think, the two best people to be doing it. So I'm looking forward to seeing them get jiggy with the voting.
Definitely.
What do we think then, before we wrap this up really quickly? Initial thoughts. What do we think this is obviously 2 months before Eurovision, what do we think the top three could be?
I think I'm trying to think who I think my number 3 will be. I think the top two, I assume at this point, will be Sweden and Finland. My number three, TBC. I don't know. What do you? I'll listen to yours and then maybe I'll feel inspired.
Oh god, that's really that is
Oh, now I'll put you on the
I've
spot. Now
asked
you
a
don't know.
nearly
Okay, I
impossible
feel better.
question. Have you thought of one?
My third one.
Your third one, or have you not yet?
No. Well, I
No.
think I've already done my ranking wrong, and because I've not given Finland 10
And you're
the
regretting
12
it.
even. And I actually don't know what I prefer to that. Let me have a.
I think the top three in the final will be in no particular order: Finland, Sweden, and Ukraine. I think they're the top three this year. My
Yeah.
personal top three will be, again in no particular order, Slovenia, Sweden, and Israel. And the UK is
Yeah.
also up there. The UK, Belgium's also up there. There's a few that I really enjoy. Iceland as well. Is it moving upwards? I find that quite easy to listen to. I enjoy it. Oh,
I've
you've not
still
listened
not
to it
listened to.
yet.
I'm. I only listened to Switzerland today.
Oh God.
I'm
Well,
really behind the curve with it.
well, she
Sorry.
better catch up. Well, she better
You
catch up
will.
in time for
Well,
our
this is why
review.
I've probably not done my rankings properly because Finland should have been my number one because I'm listening to everything else going like, come on, something else is gonna blow my socks off. And I'm like, no. Sweden was the sock blower offer. I should have just ran with it. But here we are.
Well,
Um,
there we go. Well, hopefully, I'm sure she will have listened to all of the songs in time for all of our reviews. We've got 37 of them coming up, and we're going to start publishing them as soon as possible. Every single review will be here on the Review Eurovision YouTube channel. So please do subscribe, hit the bell to get notified every time we upload new content, like, comment, and yeah, follow us on Instagram and Twitter as well. Us personally, you can follow us if you want, and also at Review Eurovision is our Instagram handle, so do give us a follow there. Thank you very much for watching. Do stay with us throughout the next few weeks ahead of Eurovision 2023.